Alright, let's get going here. Lots to get through today. So we're going to start off with our first presentation here. I've got Kratik Malhotra, who's the Director of Sports Science and Analytics at Texas A&M University. Kratik graduated from the University of Pune in India as an electronics engineer with a specialization in artificial intelligence. Continuing in his work as a sports analyst, he started in the final year of his engineering degree, and he helped Salgakar. What? No.
Oh, Salgakar.
Yeah, that wasn't that far off. Salgakar SC and Dempo SC won I-League titles in consecutive years. Then he moved to the United States and graduated with a master's in science degree in sport management from Florida State, with a focus on analytics. And since graduating from FSU, he's worked with the NFL and NBA combine programs at IMG Academy, consulted a number of NFL, NBA, and MLS teams during his stint with Stat Sports Technologies, and has been an integral part of Jimbo Fisher's staff at Florida State and now at Texas A&M, leading their sports science testing, research, and implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, Kratik Malhotra.
Well, thank you so much for that. I just want to say one thing before we get started. There are a few things on here that still have Florida State on it. And the reason why I want to have Florida State on is because we are not into the season yet at A&M, so we haven't really implemented that. And I don't want to put like an A&M tag on it and tell you something which is not true. So everything that I'll be showing you here, we have done this and it's been implemented. Works fine. All right, let's start off. All right, so here's the scenario. 10 seconds to go in the game. It's the last play of the game. The head coach is called the final timeout. They need a touchdown to win. The head coach walks over to the sports scientist and the performance analyst, and he asks, which receiver should I put in the final play? Who has the best change of direction? Who has the best completion percentage? Who's running the best possible routes? Who has run the best possible routes in this game? The sports scientist and the performance analyst, they do some calculation, they do some math, and they make a suggestion. The head coach goes with it. The play starts, the ball is snapped, the quarterback gets the ball. He makes a perfect throw. The wide receiver turns around, jumps high, latches onto the ball. Touchdown, and they win. That never happens. Very good morning, I'm Kratik Malhotra, it's a pleasure to be here. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so a little about myself. I think you covered everything. I'm the Director of Sports and Analytics for A&M. I just moved there from Florida State with Coach Fisher. I did my undergrad in engineering with a specialization in artificial intelligence. Master's in sports analytics, sports management with specialization in sports analytics. My first year with A&M, and I worked for 4 years with Florida State. I specialized in machine learning, data visualization, and data mining. I'm just going to skim through the job responsibilities. Again, I know in different presentations people tend to take pictures. I'll send you all the presentations, so you don't need to take pictures, you'll have everything. And if you all need to get in touch, I'm pretty approachable, so it's not a big, it's going to be real easy. I help design the preseason, in-season, and post-season periodization plans. We do a lot of sports science research and testing. We help prevent injuries. Sometimes you don't. You give it a shot, but it doesn't work out. I work with the sports medicine, sports nutrition, and strength staff, and that's basically the sports science side of things. The analytics in my title comes because we deal with a lot of football data as well. So we tag everything that's relative to a player from a football standpoint. So completions, incompletions, men on the line, all that stuff. Trying to find our own tendencies, our tendencies in our own team. But yeah. That's basically it. About the staff, I have a full-time assistant, a graduate assistant, a couple of interns, and I report directly to the head football coach. So the ground rules, the recipe to make this work. The first thing is to make it simple. Genius is the ability to reduce the complicated to the simple. If you're going to sell something that's really, really, really complicated to a football coach, he's probably going to back off and he's going to be like, I don't know if I want to even listen to this. But with time, you guys will be able to be on the same page. So the challenge is how do we make a football coach trust the data? The reason why it's worked for us at Florida State, the reason why it works for us at A&M is because a head coach really buys into the data. He really buys into everything that we are trying to tell him. So the first step is analyze well, and it's really, really important to analyze well because it gives you confidence in you, and you're ready for any questions that are asked to you. Second, you got to prove the coach right. You can't just walk in and you can't just be like, okay, like whatever you're doing is absolute shit. I didn't mean to say shit. Okay. But you can't walk in and you can't just be like, look, everything that you're doing is not right. You got to change these 20 things. If you go in, football coach is going to be like, look, I've been successful for all these years and I haven't had you, so why would I need you in order to be successful? So you got to first prove the coach right. You got to tell him, all right, whatever you're doing is great, it's fantastic, but maybe we can make these 5% changes, and obviously that takes time. And with that, you'll be able to establish a dialogue. But then but in order to do that, you got to first learn the coach's language. When I first started at Florida State, we were talking about accelerations and basically big terms. You're talking about the readings that are coming from the accelerometer and all that. And the coach was like, what is all this? So what he wants to hear is, if you talk about change of direction, he wants to talk about twitch. If you say accelerations, he wants to hear explosiveness. So you gotta basically pick and choose words that you want to tell a coach, and then again with time, in a couple of years, you all will be on the same page. But that's really important. You gotta be brutally honest. If someone's not doing well, you gotta be like, look, he's not doing well. Maybe we can push him to another level. If the coach has made a guy work too much, you gotta be like, all right, maybe we need to pull this guy back. And at times you're gonna get cussed out. I get cussed out once every week, and it's okay. It's perfectly fine. But okay, so there are a few things that we use from a sports science standpoint. So we use GPS monitors. We use Catapult as a GPS system. Ben from Modus is here. So we use Modus for our quarterbacks, and we track the workload in their arms. We see the point of release, the speed at which they're throwing the ball, and then with that we try to get the trends, and we try to see what's working, what's not working, how do we train an athlete. We use the sleep and readiness bands. Now some of the sleep stuff that I'll be showing you here is from fatigue science. At A&M we'll be using Rise Science. Fatigue science is great, but it's just a choice that the athletic training staff made because it was something that they worked with in the past. And we use noteboards for hamstring stuff, right from hamstring strengthening to hamstring testing and everything. Now, moving on. Now, one of the first things that we did, actually one of the main things that we did with the GPS was to help a coach plan practice. Now, again, this is not something that we have done at A&M right now, so I'm going to show you the Florida State thing. So, stop. Alright, so the thing on the left right here is the fatigue factor. So for every single drill, you have a corresponding number that tells you how fatigued a guy is going to be if that drill is done for a certain amount of time. So when the coach is planning a practice, this is a template. You enter, maybe you want 10 minutes of this drill, 10 minutes of this drill, 15 minutes of the next drill. I'll show you. So you start entering times. So you start entering time, maybe he wants 15 minutes of that drill, 17 of that drill, 20 of that drill, 15 minutes of that drill, 10 minutes of that drill. Keep on going. Alright, and at the end it tells you that from a fatigue standpoint, from a volume and intensity standpoint, it's going to be an 86% practice. Now when we are designing the periodization scheme, we sit down and we're like, alright, do we want an 86%? At this point of the season, did we plan an 86% practice? maybe we plan for that day 95% practice. In that case, you're adding to that practice. If not, if you wanted like a 75% practice, you're cutting back. But the main thing about this is you're giving the remote control is still in the coach's hands. I think the place where a lot of sports scientists these days suffer is when they go in and they go like, well, you need to do things this way or it's not going to work. I think what's really worked for us is we're giving the remote control in the coach's hand. They're like, all right, this is what we planned, and this is what it's showing. It's showing it's going to be 86%. If you still think we need a 95% practice, you can either add a drill, or you can increase minutes in the drill that you feel are important. And that way, like we've had success and it's really worked. Now, how do we come up with a fatigue factor? Now, so for this, we take the GPS data. So when we started, we took about 15-20 metrics. It took change of direction, it took accelerations, decelerations, total distance covered, high intensity distance, high speed running, heart rate, bunch of things. So you took all the GPS data that you thought was important, and you did dimension reduction with it. So you basically instead of 15 metrics, you try to identify. You did regressions and you tried to identify 6 or 7 that kind of came out most important, and you said, all right, these are the metrics that we're going to cover. Then you took a particular weighting with those metrics. You do permanent values so that everyone thinks the same, and then you converted everything to the percentage scale so that everything's on the same scale, and then you came up with the GPS fatigue. Then, now you took that and you added and you took that and you mixed it with the RPE scale. So like the way we do, now we do one a session, but like for the first 30 days or like you can say probably the whole fall camp, what we do is we do something of this sort. Now they have iPads and stuff, so it's better. This is from 2013 when we first started. So we give them a sheet of paper and we'd ask them to rate, we'd ask them to rate a particular drill, every single drill in a practice. So maybe when they started the practice, the first drill was 2. We start with special teams usually, kickoffs. So maybe the first drill was 2. Now, the guys who are involved in special teams, they're going to give a lesser number. The guys who are running special teams and running every play, they're going to give a higher number. There are going to be guys who are going to not give you what they feel. They're going to put 5s for the whole thing. When you're doing the calculations, you got to throw that out. But basically, we did this. We took 60% of the GPS data, we took 40% of the RPE data. Now, why was the ratio 60-40? I don't know. We just made stuff up. We're like, all right, maybe this is gonna work, And me and the head strength coach, Coach Big, we both sat down and we were like, all right, what if you do 70-30? Is it going to be too much reliance on the GPS data? If we are doing that, then maybe we don't even need to consider the RP data. But if you go 50, and we thought of doing it 50-50, if you do 50-50, then like you still don't know like which players are rating it 100%. So it was basically throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it sticks. But we took 60-40, and it worked, and it worked well. The way we tested it was in between the season and fall camp, we had like a 4-day break. We took it to the head coach and we were like, all right, does a Monday practice, is your Monday practice about 77-78%? Is your Tuesday practice about 90-95%? He's like, yeah, that sounds about right. And in addition to this, we pulled out the volume and intensity metrics and we were like, all right, does this seem right? Does this percentage seem right for volume and intensity? And he agreed, and we were like, all right, well, that means it works. The result was designing a periodization scheme. So we took that data, in those 3-4 days, we designed a periodization scheme for the rest of the season. Now this was for 2012, and this was the first time we designed a periodization scheme. And if you look at that, you see how imbalanced it is. You look at this, it's a lot more controlled. If you see the level at which we could push the guys was a lot higher as compared to that, because there was too much of ups and downs. Again, on day 1, you're not going to have a coach switch his practice. There was once the head coach I once told him, I was like, coach, like he's like, we're gonna have a high practice. And I said, oh, maybe we should have a walkthrough. And he looks at me like I'm crazy. And he's like, oh, we're not having a walkthrough. And he didn't have a walkthrough that day. He had a walkthrough the next day. It was a 2.5 hour walkthrough. Because I just got cussed out that morning. that I'm gonna make guys soft, I'm gonna help him, I'm gonna make sure that the guys are soft and all that stuff. And I was like, no coach, like, we need to help. And he went ahead and cussed me out even later, why he didn't get stuff done. But, week on, like, he came up and he was like, that really helped. Because we really could teach guys stuff and they got the rest that they needed. Now, again, a lot of stuff that you do, the suggestions that you make, there's always that element to it that, it may not work, right? But that's why establishing a relationship with the coach who trusts you is so important. But again, that's like with everything. You're calling plays in a game. What if the play doesn't work? What if your formation that you're setting down, it doesn't work? But, and that's why it's sport, that's why it's so beautiful. Alright, how do you design a periodization scheme? Again, I think a lot of people here specialize with that. But the way we've always done it is you take the GPS data for the first and the second team, and then you take the coach's rating from each game. Now, when you're taking a coach's rating, it's not the rating. Coaches are not rating how hard they've played the game, but they're rating every player on how well they've played the game. So even if a player after every game has played like 7 plays, a coach goes in and be like, all right, how well has he played? And he rates him on alignment, assignment, and technique. So we took the GPS data for the first and the second team for 2 years. We took the coach's rating that they've had for 2 years, and we were like, all right, what's the best periodization scheme that can come up? What would an ideal Monday practice look like? What will an ideal Tuesday practice look like? Wednesday practice look like? Thursday practice look like? If you need to walk through, how much time does there need to be out there? And we took that and we came up with a periodization scheme. And the reason why we did it was not to the aim was to get the best out of the guys on the field, so best on-field performance. So I talked about periodizing practice. I think now where we are at is we are looking, and we have been doing it for a while. We periodize practices, so within practices of periods. Right here. So the reason why I put this example was because there are a lot of yellows and lemons, but like usually what you want to do here is when you see this in fall camp, you're like, coach, the next time you're going to run this practice, maybe you should have a green period here. Maybe you should have a punt here. If this guy's getting too much work here, he should get really less work here so that he can be ready for this one. Now, if you do look at football as a game, you're running a drive, but then the team sits down. They have like a rest. They have like a 5-minute rest when the defense is on the field, and the same thing with defense. They're resting. So in practice, I think like NFL, it's a little different. But with college, it's all about like pushing the guys. You got to go harder. But at times, are you really training for the sport? You know what I mean? So, that's what we're doing. But with all of that, there's a daily report that the coach gets, which is really important. And that's the daily report. You're looking at basic metrics. You're looking at top speed. You're looking at speed exertion. You're looking at the total distance that he's covering, high intensity accelerations, distance above certain speed bands, and heart rates. Now heart rate in general, like we have found it. I don't know. Do you guys do heart rates during practices and games?
Very limited.
Okay.
Experimental.
Yeah. We started going like all out in heart rates last year, and I think one thing that we have found is the data can be a little fishy with heart rates popping in and out. So you got to be a little careful with that. But I think you keep the good ones. You see the heart rate duration, how long was the heart rate monitor on for during the practice, and then kind of go on that. So, but yes, it's something that we have implemented. It's the second year that we're going all in. All 90 guys wear heart rate monitors, continuous monitors. It's it's working okay as of now. We give coaches a weekly report on every single player on how a player is doing, where he's at, what does he need to do. And again, you do that taking into account the opinion of an athletic trainer. So me and the athletic trainer sit down, we are like, all right, and one of the assistant strength coaches, like, what did this guy lift? How is this guy from an injury standpoint? How does his numbers look like? Where is he exactly at? You make a report, you give a report. That was from Florida State. I drew like a mustache because I was like, whatever. Data visualization. So at Florida State, as a visualization partners, we had Spotfire. They're a company based out of Boston. At A&M, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't included a lot of Excel and not really much Spotfire, because we don't have a contract with them as of now with A&M, but we are working with an excellent data visualization company. They helped us last year a fair bit with recruiting, seeing where the recruits are in the country, where the coaches should go, stuff like that. But yeah, we are close to signing a contract with them. So, okay, so my background is data and machine learning and stuff like that. So I think one thing that we do is let me take you back. One thing that I do specialize in is creation of metrics and testing. One of the things that we did do was come up with a metric of our own. It was called distance to top speed. So how much distance does a guy take in every single rep to hit his top speed? And it was pretty. So this is from 2013 again. One thing that we found was really staggering. Like, you see that there are players who are hitting the top speed in 8 and 9 yards. So every time a guy starts from rest, you consider that he's hitting his top speed in 8 or 9 yards. One of the funny thing is, when we saw this, I went back and looked through all the Catapult graphs, and I was like, that's not right. I mean, how can a guy hit his top speed from 0? How can he go from 0 to his top speed in 8 or 9 yards? But it was true. And each, like this, and the 8 yards on top, the funny thing was, it was the same guy. It was Devontae Freeman, who plays for Atlanta Falcons. He would go from 0 to his top speed in 8 to 9 yards, which was incredible. And I went over to every single graph, and I was like, that can't be true. Like, but look, his acceleration, it was pretty incredible. This is about simulating, looking at the summer training and seeing how closely we're going to get close to the training during the season. So you basically select a team run. What is a team run going to look like as compared to what we're doing right now? Again, I'll send you guys the presentation. You can just have a look. The same thing with the weight room. So how is the season going to look like? What we're doing in the summer? Well, basically just to get a better idea of how are we training you guys, how closely we are getting to where we want to be. Motors quarterback sleeve. So I'm sure Ben's going to come here this afternoon and he's going to talk a lot about motors. This is the second year, third year actually, we have had that product, and it's worked pretty well. One of the things that coach really likes is looking at the point of release of an athlete. So you go through the practice, and the GAs and the quality control guys, they tag every single route that they are doing. You map that time to the time on notice, and you're coming back and you're like, all right, this particular athlete, when he was throwing a particular kind of ball, when this quarterback was throwing for a go route, you want to see how his point of release drops as practice goes on. If that angle is too much, that indicates fatigue. Like, all right, maybe this guy, maybe, we need to give this guy a couple of reps. Like, so many times, I've gone to coach after probably 3 quarters of practicing. Be like, all right, coach, this quarterback needs, like, instead of putting him straight in 5 reps, just put him in 3 reps and put the other guy in. Again, you get cussed out, but it's okay. Okay, well, I'm just gonna do these things. Fingertip velocities is the velocity at which he's throwing the ball. Workload, count to bench talk, and I'm promoting it. Okay. Sleep data to be used for fatigue science. It gives you effectiveness, efficiency, hours of sleep, time of sleep, how many hours a guy has slept, how well is his sleep, rehab and return to play. So I'll just skim through that. That's the green where the guy got injured. That's the graph of how we built him. That was over 3 weeks, so how we built the guy over ready for the season. He got injured first week of fall camp. How we built him up as the season went on. As the fall camp went on, getting ready for the season. Football analytics, again, I'll send you guys this. The reason why, I'll just skim over this, but the reason why we do this, the reason why we are getting into the sports science side of things with the football analytics side of things with the sports science side of things is because it completes the picture. So you have all the data, you have the acceleration. Can I get like 3 more minutes? You get the sports science side of things. You're seeing an athlete's movements. You're seeing how well is he running, how quickly he's running, the accelerations he's hitting the speed that he's running at, and then you take that into account and you look at what is he doing when he's hitting those accelerations. Is he being really, really successful as a football player or not? And you see a lot of football players who aren't great athletes but are phenomenal football players. So we're trying to combine the two and come up with a product. Again, you guys I'll send you the presentation so you can just have a look at the video. That's like one of the reports that we give to coaches. Quarterback 1, completions and incompletions, high, left, right. The quarterback receiver, the routes that he's running. Is he completing? Is he not completing? I'll just talk you real quickly through combining data. Now, we've spent a lot of money, we've spent a lot of time, we've sent our information abroad for analysis, we've consulted teams in order to predict injuries. Predicting injuries is, according to me, it's a waste of time. You can prevent injuries, you can be like, all right, this guy may get injured, this practice, next practice, and 5 practices. But to pinpoint and say this guy's going to get injured, this guy's going to pull a hamstring here, it's very, very difficult. Like we've spent a lot of money, it's not been very good. I'm just going to skim through this real quick, just to see how the whole process works, how we combine the whole data. That's a receiver's route for route 10. That's a receiver stats for route 10. And if you look to the right, and you click on the right is the play direction. You see that he's basically the player's been towards the right, and receiver has a bunch of incomplete high. Now the routes that we were running were basically flag routes. There were a couple of posts, but like most of them were like flag routes basically. So like they were going to the right, so he's changed the direction. His explosive cuts to the right for that particular receiver is only one. You look back and you're like, okay, this guy wasn't doing the best he could cutting right. It could be that he's not naturally talented enough, So you go back to the head coach and go like, do we have to put him in there, or do you want to put a guy in who is like better cutting to the right? And he's going like he went against these 3 defensive backs. You look at their change of direction, left or right, and you see they're so much better. So why was he doing that? Was he protecting himself because he was feeling an injury? He thought he may get injured. What does he know his limitations? Does he know that he's not good enough? So he's dropping back. He's like, maybe if I drop short, I'll be able to catch the ball. That's why there are a lot of incompletes high. Or was it his mistake though? Like, was quarterback just having like a bad day? You see his arm slot angles dropped a lot. His workload's gone up. So, it could be, that could be one of the reasons. The sleep's fine. They all slept well. But, yeah. Again, challenges like y'all can, when I sent you guys the presentation, I can just read through it. And any questions?
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off. If you have any questions for Kratik, I'd ask you to just take it out in the hall afterwards. We got to keep on schedule, but so much good information here. Let's have a round of applause.